Welcome to the Political Orphans. My name is Nico Lagan, and I am your in-house conservative. To my left, Rob Ambrose, our token liberal. Our goal is simple. We want to show you that it's possible for a lefty and a righty to not only get along, but to be able to have a civil conversation when we disagree. Because never forget, common sense has no political affiliations. What's going on, man?
Oh, how's it going, brother? How's the weekend?
Busy. Finally fixed my fucking laptop.
Nice.
That's a good thing. Yeah. Nothing like sitting on a $3,000 laptop and using an old fucking 5-year-old tab to try to run stuff. But yeah, finally. My apologies for the people out there. 5 minutes late. That one's on me. But yeah, my apologies on that one.
That's all right. We'll be better in it tomorrow.
Or we'll be late, or we'll be early.
Anyone out there yet? How was you guys' weekend? Your long weekend? I know it's kind of weird. Is it a long weekend? Because technically Canada Day's tomorrow. So I don't know.
I think it's a long weekend.
I think a lot of people have today off.
I don't even know what the fuck a long weekend is. I never get weekends.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, what the hell is that? What the hell is that?
Yeah.
Guys, by the way, for the people that are what's the term you call the people that have been around for a while are regulars. Jesus. Yep. It's gonna be a hard fucking day. Jesus.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of those days.
Well, for the regulars out there, we're just gonna like I started announcing last week, we're gonna try a new format just for the way that I'm gonna edit some videos afterwards. So I'm gonna run a top stories of the day. So we'll get right into it. We're gonna try not to fuck around as much at the beginning of the show to actually get in the topics instead of wasting 20 minutes. So let's get right into it. The new liberal digital services tax that was supposed to take effect today is out of the window. Why? Because as always, Carney back down. Trump said no. You know Trump is doing something right when even CNN is praising him on the news. Back in 2018, Denmark was one of the first countries to ban the burqa. But after 7 years, the Danish PM is seeking to extend the ban. The question I have for you guys is, should Canada consider to do the same? Toronto bans fireworks on Canada Day. This one is hard for me to believe, but it seems that there's a school in BC that is promoting hard drugs to our children. And finally, Zohran Mamdani, the new socialist Democrat mayor candidate in New York, says that billionaires should not exist. Get your comments ready because the show starts now. Woo!
That's nice. That's good. Getting better at it.
Yeah. I fucking hate reading off of a script. Like I'm a freestyler. I like to do some research, know what I'm talking about, have quotes ready if I need them. But reading off of a script is not something I enjoy very much. But yeah, let's
get right into
it, right?
Yeah,
the more, we want to get rebroadcasted. We want to be able to maybe sign a deal to go on the radio. We want to be able to do some stuff, so it needs to somewhat have a professional structure.
Structure, yeah. Because
somewhat. I said somewhat.
Yeah, because that has not been our thing. Professional or structure, to be honest.
But, unfortunately, no. But we'll get better at it. That's why we're gonna lock it in 2 hours. We're gonna be able to 2 hours. Like I'm making it sound like 2 hours. Damn, it's so short.
I know, right?
2 hours. Most people would be scared to say that they need to go live for 2 hours. We're like 2 hours. That's not a lot of time.
Yeah, we gotta cut it down to 2 hours.
Yeah. So first story, and this has to be the main topic today because it's been going on for a few days now. There was supposed to be a new digital services tax that was supposed to get to go into effect today. And over the weekend, Trump is like, yeah, fuck no, ain't happening. No.
So
negotiation, like tariff negotiations are off the table if you do not remove that tax. What did Carney do? What did Carney do?
With the elbows up, yeah. I heard there was some like G7 shenanigans, though, right? Like, I'm pretty sure at the G7, Carney either told Trump or led him to believe that this tax was going to be, taken off in the interest of getting a deal done, which makes sense. If you're trying to do a deal, get a trade deal done with your biggest partner down south, don't fuck around with stupid taxes like this. Anyways, they leave the G7, and turns out that the tax is slapped on immediately. And obviously Trump was like, "No, fuck that." And so he basically pulled the plug, and Carney's now backtracked, and it's not a good look. Not a good look for Canada, not a good look for Carney.
So before we get into it, because Trump, like Trump always does, he takes to social media, just goes on a fucking verbal diarrhea of information, which is brilliant because, man, he owns part of Truth Social, which is a social media platform that is not popular at all. But man, it does not matter where the fuck that guy posts. People are following him on Truth Social just so they can get the post. So I got the post that started this all. I got Carney's response, and I even have a video from mainstream media that is kind of explaining what happened. But before we get into it, because most people don't know what the digital services tax was, because this is not something that Carney did.
To be honest, I don't.
Yeah, but this is not something, but it doesn't come from Carney. This is something that Trudeau put in place. He put it in place back in 2024. And the whole point is that it was taking effect now, but it was taking almost a year to get into effect. But I found a video from CBC that actually explains what it's about, like to give us an idea for the people out there that might not know. I figured I would show. Ooh, so fluid, so nice. I'm so happy my laptop is working. God damn. Damn.
Jesus Christ.
So let me
talk about easily impressed. You're like, yay, I got screenshots. Woo.
Bro, but yeah, I spent 20 or 30 hours trying to fix it over the past 2 weeks. So here is a simple video by CBC that explains what is the digital services tax, what it's about, and then we'll get into that actual post that's right there. We'll go through it, and then we'll see how Carney backed down.
They're in the middle of the Trump Truth Social post that threw a wrench into the Canada-US trade talks. The words digital services tax. All right, what is Canada's digital services tax? Well, it became law in 2024, but it goes into force on Monday and is retroactive to 2022. It targets online companies that earn over $20 million in digital services revenue from Canadian users.
It applies only to 3 types. One is revenue from social media. Second is revenue from online advertising. And then finally, revenue from online marketplace intermediation.
That means it would affect Amazon, but not Prime Video, Google and Meta, but not Netflix. It began as a campaign promise by Justin Trudeau in 2019, the U.S. quickly pushing back.
In fact, President Biden had actually started an appeal under the USMCA, under the CUSMA trade agreement with Canada on this actual issue.
So before people blame Trump for everything, hopefully you heard what they just said. This is something that even Sleepy Joe was against, that he had started the process to actually get that canceled.
Well, I mean,
so before you get your panties up in a bunch, that's a nonpartisan thing.
No, I mean, look, you can't expect a U.S. president to be okay with just arbitrary taxes on U.S. companies, and I would expect that I would hope that any Canadian prime minister would be equally as opposed to a similar tax on Canadian companies in other countries. Like, that's just, you can't say, oh, this is a Trump being ridiculous again. That's pretty standard policy for any American president, for sure.
100%. And you know, Canadians would lose their shit if we did
Oh,
have the same thing. Like, of course, it wouldn't be the same, right?
Yep.
Tax was pitched as a revenue generator, but that was before Canada was mired in a trade war. And Canada isn't the first to try this. There are already similar measures in force in Italy, France, and the UK.
One thing to note is that the UK DST is much narrower than the Canadian DST. It requires the company to be much larger. Nonetheless, the UK government has announced that it's been collecting very significant revenue from companies through its DST.
Even before Trump protested, others worried about the impact, even on Canadian companies. You were saying under the DST, there are some Canadian companies, depending on their online presence, that could actually be affected by this kind of tax dragnet.
Absolutely. And these companies would complain for paying the GST, were subject to all kinds of levies. And now here's another tax.
Well, experts say the biggest online companies could easily absorb the tax. It's estimated to generate $7 billion over 5 years for Ottawa. Eli Glaster, CBC News, Toronto.
I always like when they say that, oh, they could easily absorb that. Fuck off. We don't need more taxes. We don't have a tax problem. We have a mismanagement problem. Our governments are not managing our fucking money properly. And maybe instead of giving it to fucking dictators in Ukraine, we should keep it here. Maybe we'd have money for Canadians and we don't want to have to tax foreign fucking companies. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but you're not able to, there's certain pieces of content that you can't see in Canada. Like there's certain pieces of news that I'm blocked. When I'm in the US, no problem, I can see them. But once I'm here, it's like, oh, as per policies of your federal government, you can see certain accounts. That's just on Instagram. So, and some of our news doesn't make to the US because they need to pay us for our own news. So not only is our news subsidized billions of dollars every year, we're trying to get other companies to pay for our shitty news.
I mean, look, like I mean, I'm not as ideologically opposed to taxes as you are. I think in Canada we're severely overtaxed. And so I agree with you that we don't need no more new taxes. If you're gonna tax someone, yeah, I'm all for taxing other countries if it makes sense. But this does not make fucking sense because you're in the middle of a trade negotiation with America, and you know that this is going to piss them off, and we need that fucking deal more than anything. So whatever pennies that this tax is going to bring in, if it upsets the negotiation of a brand new deal, then it's stupid and don't fucking do it. And this is just, man, I don't know, man. Carney, like, I'm willing to give him a chance, probably more so than a lot of people that sort of watch the show. But it hasn't been. He's been disappointing. He was supposed to be the adult in the room. He was supposed to be the smart guy. He was supposed to be the economic genius, and he's just flip flopping all over the place. Yeah, elbows up, and now it's elbows down, and now elbows up, and now, yeah, the chicken dance, right? Elbows up, elbows down. And it's just, look, it's what we were saying during the campaign. Like, we don't have a big stick. We're not the big kid on the block. We don't have a big swinging dick. And obviously, if you do, it's fine to swing it around. But when you don't do it. And that's why this whole elbows up nonsense is stupid, because as soon as he fucking got elected, it was down. Now it's all, he went and tried that shit down south. And the Americans is like, nah, bro, like, you don't have any leverage. Get fucked. We just won't make a deal with you. And El Carney's like, oh, no, wait, no, okay, we'll take it back. We'll take it back. Let's make a deal. It's just, even if you like Carney, you should hate this move. It makes him look weak. It makes Canada look silly. And it makes us look not serious about dealing with our primary trade partner.
So, and you know what is the funniest thing is that Trump was able to make Carney back down from a tax,
right? A tax.
He doesn't even need to call you.
A tweet, yeah.
He was probably taking a dump as he's writing this.
Fired it off while taking a dump. Yeah.
So, I mean, if you haven't seen it, it's Trump being Trump. We have just been informed that Canada, a very difficult country to trade with, including the fact that they have charged our farmers as much as 400% tariffs for years on the dairy products. That is incorrect, though. That people corrected him over the weekend. It's something around 233% to about 400.
Okay.
To about 300, sorry. So it's not quite 400, but it's 300. But it is true. For the people that don't know this, it is true that we have massive tariffs on their dairy product because our Canadian dairy product are fixed, right? They're controlled by the government, and we do have tariffs. So before you get pissed off at Trump for saying shit, he's actually almost correct. Has just announced that they are putting a digital service tax, which has been announced since last year, on our American technology companies, which is a direct and blatant attack on our country. They are obviously copying the European Union, which, the video I just showed, is true, which has done the same thing and is currently under discussion with us. Also, based on this egregious tax, we are hereby terminating all discussion on trade with Canada effective immediately. We will let Canada know the tariff that they will be paying to do business with the United States of America within the next 7-day period. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Fuck you, drop mic.
I like how he adds that at the end. We've just started nuclear war. We just started World War III by dropping nukes on Iran. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Guys, we're talking about of course, we're talking about the Carney Trump trade snafu over the weekend. Remember, the show is built on your comments. If you got something to say, if you agree, disagree, throw them in the comments. And after we finish discussing a topic, we'll get to the comments. So we will get to those. We're seeing those start to come in. But yeah, now I don't know, man. It's just. It's not good policy. Canada had to know this was going to happen, and now you look weak. And I wouldn't be surprised if just because you got look. I quote this book all the time on the show because we talk politics a lot, and if you talk politics, I think everyone who deals with politics has to read The Art of War by Sun Tzu. But you got to know your enemy, and you got to know yourself. You got to have known Trump was going to respond this way to something like this. And I suspect it's not probably going to be just a matter of, okay, we won't do it. And then Trump comes back and all good. You'll probably get a slightly worse deal now, right? For them to come back than you would have just by not doing it. 100%. So he's got to make you pay for it, and he's vindictive and petty. That's who he is. And he's the president of the United States, and he does hold the big stick,
and he knows it. And he knows it. That is a dangerous combination. A guy who has the big swinging dick, and he's not afraid to use it. And you look, you got it's. I definitely have some sympathy for world leaders trying to navigate this, where you've got the leader of the most powerful nation in the world, who for the first time in a long time is not afraid to use that power. It's tricky. It's tricky for sure. But man, Carney, fuck, you got to do better than this, man. You got to have known this was going to happen. Had to have known it was going to happen. Look at this. So the video I'm going to show you is from 2 days ago. So this was Saturday morning. As soon as Trump wrote his masterful post, because it is pretty masterful. Hate Trump or not, the fact that he's able to get shit done from a post on Truth Social blows my mind. You've never seen anything like that before. Trump is just love him, hate him. He's very masterful at making people do whatever the fuck he wants them to do. And if you don't want to do it, that's fine. Go fuck yourself. I don't need you. But here's Carney. So Carney was approached as he's leaving Parliament last week. And he was approached by a reporter. And surprisingly, he actually answered him. So chances are it's a plant. But here is a quick video of Carney trying to explain what happened.
Hi, Prime Minister.
Mr. Carney, have you spoken to the president today yet, sir?
No, I didn't speak to the president today.
What do you? Any reaction to the news we put on Truth Social today?
We'll continue to conduct these complex negotiations in the best interest of Canadians.
He's like, I have to go change my pants right now. I've just shit in them.
Back down from the DST?
He's literally shitting in his pants.
Je viens de le dire. Il y a des négociations complexes. On va les continuer dans les mieux intérêts des Canadiens et Canadiennes.
How's this French?
Terrible French. That wasn't even fucking French. I don't know what the fuck language he's talking.
What is this on the screen? I went on the screen says, "I need my dog, please."
My dog, please.
Who said that?
That's funny. Hold on. Let me.
Who is it that said that?
Hold on.
The Canadian.
Merci.
Okay, it wasn't Carney. That would have been so funny. That would have been so funny.
That would have been a great translation, right? His French is so good that
He said,
the AI on YouTube thinks I need my dog.
Yeah,
But
that's
again,
too funny.
This is what. How much of a twat does he look like? Like he thinks it's funny. Like he's kind of half laughing about this, but it makes me look so dumb.
Stupid.
So stupid.
I don't think he thinks it's funny as I think he's trying to make it seem like he thinks it's funny and like, oh, it's no big deal. I think he's scared shitless. I think he knows how bad this is going to look for him because he knew in that moment he was going to have to backtrack. For sure he did. As soon as that tweet came out, he had to have known that. In fact, probably before it, because remember the tweet said, "I have just told them." So they already knew that this was going to happen before Trump even tweeted it out. And there's just, man, like in the great game, like the great geopolitical game between global powers, you got to like the concept of face is so important. Saving face. Yep. You have hard power and you have soft power. Canada doesn't have much hard power. All the power we have is soft power, and things like losing face, backing down, looking weak. That devastates your soft power as well. And frankly, our soft power only comes from being, BFFs with the United States. So, in a negotiation with the United States, we essentially don't even have any soft power.
No, and. I wanted to show you before we start looking at the comments. I wanted to show another video because this video is. I always find it interesting to see what the left media, our mainstream media, is saying.
Yep.
And it's funny because CBC disabled the comments on that YouTube video, and we all know why they do that, right? Because
of course. Obviously,
it didn't look good, and trying to explain. So let's see them trying to explain why.
Whoa, is that Ian? Is that Ian Hannah-Mansing, the broadcaster? Fuck, I haven't seen him in a while. He looks like a wax figure or something. Anyways, go ahead. I
have no clue the fuck that guy is.
Go ahead. I don't know. Spouting off.
But here's CBC trying to explain what the fuck happened.
Okay. There is a major development tonight in Canada-U.S. trade talks. Late this evening, the federal government suddenly announcing it is now rescinding its tax targeting big tech companies. The Prime Minister saying talks can now resume. This comes just 2 days after Trump abruptly posted online that trade talks were off unless Canada dropped the digital services tax. It was just hours away from taking effect tonight when Ottawa made the announcement. Sam Sampson is in Washington. And Sam, take us through this late news from the federal government.
So this statement, it says the finance minister announced he is rescinding the tax in anticipation of a mutually beneficial comprehensive trade agreement with the United States. The statement goes on to say, Ian, that both Prime Minister Mark Carney and U.S. President Donald Trump have agreed that parties will resume negotiations with a view towards agreeing on a deal by July 21st this year. So it's plausible to suggest there were ongoing conversations about this through the weekend, right up to the last hour, because the tax was supposed to come into effect tomorrow. But now Canada will not collect this levy, and the finance minister will bring forward legislation to rescind the digital services tax. Carney also said earlier this month, remember, that he and Trump would work to make a trade agreement happen within 30 days. Well, in the statement, the prime minister says this announcement supports a resumption of negotiations. And this tax has been in talks for years, going back to the Trudeau government. Sunday's statement uses the phrase Canada's new government a few times, something the Prime Minister has been doing a lot lately, and perhaps signaling that the decisions of the past Liberal government are ones Mark Carney is willing to revisit to make a trade deal with Trump.
And just how intense was the
First and foremost, that guy fucks with my head. He's like the brownest of brown guys.
He looks like a white guy. He looks like a white guy in brown face, right? I was thinking that. I'm like, that's literally what he looks like.
But what I was going to say, he has no accent whatsoever.
No, it's
this
definitely
has to be the cleanest Canadian accent ever. The white girl has more of an accent than he does.
Yeah, it does mess with your head.
That guy's fucking with my his voice does not match his face whatsoever.
It does. Sounds like the guy like voice actors that do like trailers for movies, right? In a world where
but you know what's interesting is that now they're trying to disconnect the new liberals from the old ones. Bitch, please. Mark Carney has been behind the scene since at least 2021 or 2020. Like, bitch, please. It's not a new liberal party. It ain't. It's the same fucking party. It's just that instead of us looking at Justin Trudeau, we actually see the guy that was behind Justin Trudeau.
Yeah, he was the top advisor of Trudeau's. It's basically a reshuffled cabinet, but many of the same faces. It's a hard sell to call it a new government. The other thing that jumped out at me is all this the talk about hopefully this will start resume trade talks. That's all coming from the Canadian side. It's not it's not a guarantee that it will. Like at the beginning, he said Carney, the Canadian government has agreed to rescind the tax in the hopes that it will further a trade deal or something. That's fine, but but in the hopes, it's entirely within Donald Trump's personality and temperament to either just say, no, I'm not really interested anymore, or make them sweat, or make sure that the deal they get isn't as good as it would have been.
It's coming. It's coming. He made you back down from a fucking post that he shot from his poop throne. This dude, he did that between two things. Trump did not sit down for 40 minutes writing this shit. He's like, enter. Don't give up.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is
take him back down remotely from a fucking tweet on social.
And
that makes you look weak.
And Trump, again, as I was saying, you got to know your enemy, as in that you got to know the person you're on the other side. And Trump's a bully by nature. He is the type to exploit an advantage. If he senses weakness, he will go harder. Yep. And so, this is why it was a mistake in some ways to back down, but the fact is he had no other choice. He had to back down.
He should have known better.
Yeah, once you back down to a guy like Trump, that just gets him going. That triggers his prey drive, and he will come at you harder. And he really had no choice other than to back down. So even though it's gonna get sort of Trump's prey drive, it's gonna kick that in. You still had to do it. The real mistake was in insisting on adding this tax in the first place. Once that happened,
he should have cut it off. Mark Carney should have known better. Than to even let it go. He should have announced. He's like, hey guys, on Monday there was supposed to be a new services tax, digital services tax that was coming in. Because we're in negotiation with the US, we're gonna scrap it. He could have came in as a hero and just woo. Oh, what a great idea. How different is he from Justin Trudeau?
Yeah.
And have you ever noticed that every single time something goes wrong from the Liberal Party, and know that it came from Carney, he always pushes it down to his ministers? Because now it's the previous government. Or have you noticed he never takes accountability for his actions whatsoever? So let's just finish this video and then we'll take the comments.
Yep. Pressure Sam to lift this tax.
It seemed very heavy. Trump straight up said he wouldn't talk anymore about trade with Canada because of this tax. He said it on Friday in a Truth Social post, and he reiterated it again on Fox News Sunday.
You said you're stopping all trade discussions with Canada? until such time as they drop certain taxes. Yeah. Canada is a very tough country to deal with. I will say that.
But
and I love Canada.
You have USMCA in place.
I know, but
You'll have to do it.
But USMCA is no good if they cheat.
This tax was aimed at global tech giants that made at least $20 million off of selling digital services to Canadians. So think Meta, Google, Amazon. It was a
all American companies, but it's global. It's global. American companies. Fuck you. Like, you know, I like how they always try to. Oh no, but it was global. Sure, but they're all Americans. But they're global.
And I mean, look, the President of the United States is his job. Part of his job is to look out for American interests abroad. And that, look, if you don't have to like that, but that's just reality. This is we got to play the cards that we're dealt. You got to play by the rules of the game that you exist in, not the game that you wish you existed in.
Can you imagine if we had a prime minister that would actually have the balls to put Canada first?
Well,
exactly.
I think what's going on is Carney and honestly, a lot of like the European leaders too. They don't really understand that Trump's not just a different kind of president. It's a different way of doing business. Pretty much all the other presidents in recent years just kind of accepted that America was going to get ripped off a little bit, pretty much in every deal. And that they'd accept it because they're just so. It's almost like stealing a couple $100 from a billionaire because they're so rich, they're not going to notice it. And maybe some billionaires wouldn't, but there are some billionaires who they will give a shit, even if it's just on principle. Nobody steals from them. Nobody takes advantage of them. And Donald Trump is that kind of president. And people need to understand that. Whatever you feel about Donald Trump personally is irrelevant. You have to understand who you're dealing with here.
% levy, and it was retroactive back to 2022. So the first payment would have seen roughly 2.7 billion Canadian dollars from American companies alone. But now it looks like that won't happen, and trade talks may resume with the President of the United States.
So basically, just to put it back into context, now we're going to miss $2 billion that should have came from that tax. Do you remember like the 20 or 30 billion dollars that we were supposed to make by putting tariffs on US goods?
Yeah, how'd that
not
work?
happening?
No.
But yet we're still sending money
$4 billion to
overseas.
Ukraine. $4 billion to Ukraine. That's still happening.
And we have no budget. And we're still going to expand NATO. And basically Carney said that he would expand NATO. That's going to end up costing us something like $150 billion in order to do that. So he's just shooting fucking money left, right, and center. And remember last week he was asked, how are you planning to pay for this? Look within yourself, British guy.
Yes.
Look within yourself. Like,
just.
Do you remember again? He did this like he did like, nope, not answering the question. So, man, it is. Right. I would be curious for the people out there if we have any listeners that are voters that voted for the Liberal Party. How the fuck do you feel now? And no disrespect, like I'm not here to bash you if you voted for them. That's your fucking right as a voter. You have the right to vote for whoever you want. But I want to, as somebody that voted for them, can somebody tell me how you feel about your vote after seeing him flip flop on every single time he tries to act tough? Trump is like, no, and then backs down.
I mean, I like clearly, again, you know, we come at it from different angles. I was willing to give probably Carney more of a shot than you know, you, for example, because, you know, you're pretty hard conservative, and you're convinced that he was going to do a shit job anyways. I probably thought he was, but, you know, I took the same approach I did with Donald Trump. You know, regardless of what I think about the guy personally, I'm just going to decide on a case-by-case basis. Trump's had some hits and he's had some misses, and we've talked about both of them on the show. I keep looking for a Carney hit. So far, I've seen some misses. I haven't seen any hits so far. You know, if we get them, I'll congratulate him on that, or I'll give him credit where it's due. But this, you know, it's still early, but so far the early returns are not good. You know, it seems to be sort of a Trudeau 2.0 government, which again, as we just talked about, probably not that surprising considering Carney was, you know, a prime architect of the first Trudeau, or of the Trudeau government in terms of being one of his top advisors. So I don't know. I'm not, I don't, there's nothing I really like so far that I see, but should we jump into a couple of the comments here?
Yes, sir. So,
wise guy, how's it doing, brother? Steven, what a lovely Canada Day gift this was. I assume, yeah.
Smacking Mark Carney back to the place where he belongs.
Especially if you've got a hate on for Carney or you just don't like him, you love to see it. But
it's hard not to, because I never liked him. I know what he stands for. I don't like it. But the fact that he keeps on trying to act tough, and he's like, at the end of the day, if you're going to act tough, hold some cards. He never did.
Yep.
Be imposing physically. Have stature, have presence. He doesn't. Love Trump or not, that dude has presence. When he shows up, people are like, oh, motherfucker. Here we go again. Because you know what he's all about, and he knows. Again, you remember the move that he did on one of the Prince of Saudi Arabia. Not supposed to touch them. He's had a massive function where the prince is sitting there. You're not supposed to touch him. Trump walks behind him, taps him on the shoulder, continues walking. And the prince is just like, hey, who the fuck touched me? And Trump doesn't even turn back. He knows exactly what, but that's who we're dealing with. And Carney has none of it. No cards, no presence. He has no presence. He's a little man. He's like a super small guy. Bro, shut the fuck up. Hey, put your tail between your legs. Do a deal with Trump before it gets so bad that we're going to really pay for decades. So just, bro, make a deal. Let's develop our natural resources. Let's develop our manufacturing. Let's stop sending billions of dollars to Ukraine, buying fucking Chinese ships instead of doing them here. Do as much as you can to make sure that we have the money to invest in our own infrastructure and our own manufacture and production. And over the next decade or two, let's separate ourselves from the U.S. That is really just a smart thing to do, right?
It's really not that complicated. As you know, that's really, that should be the plan. We don't recognize that we don't have any leverage right now. So negotiate the best deal you can do, then focus on investing in our resources, our oil, our mining, develop export capacity on both coasts so we can sell our energy to the entire world and not just America. And then, once we do have built up some wealth for ourselves, then we can actually go around and throw our weight around a little bit. We don't really have that much weight to throw right now. Pat Dodds.
Hey,
go ahead.
Before we continue, because we're, as much as we're getting better at putting structure, we did not remind people to like. So if you're on X, make sure to like, make sure to comment, make sure to restream that stream, reshare this stream, because this is how you can help us on X. As you can see here at the bottom, there's always a massive amount of conversation. So if you do want to join the conversation, you need to join the YouTube channel at the Poli Orphans. So make sure, if you're on X, jump to the YouTube channel, make sure to subscribe, make sure to follow us there. And if you are on YouTube, make sure to smash that smash button.
That's right.
And if you believe in independent media, if you think that what Rob and I do is worth it, we do have a membership plan. It's $2.99 a month. It's not even a cheap, nasty coffee from Tim Hortons. So there you have it. There's my spiel to you guys.
Yes.
Want to take this comment?
Yeah, Pat Dodds, and might actually be Pat's first time commenting here. Welcome, sir. Hopefully you stick around. Alberta will soon separate from the loser in the East, NBC. We are so done with Canada. We can't wait to watch them fall. So great. Quebec, Ontario needs to pull up and get to work. The cash cow is gone. Yeah, it's hard to, it's hard to argue with anything you say there. We do talk a lot on this show about Alberta, the sovereignty movement. I personally hope we're able to, when I say we, I mean Canada, is able to keep Alberta in, but to do that, it might even be too late. But if it's not, it has to be a massive shift immediately and recognize that much of Alberta's grievances are legitimate. and go, do whatever you can do to keep Alberta in confederation. There's Carney's so fucking worried about closer ties with Europe. Worry about Alberta first, bud, because that's your big we can live without close ties without Europe. We can't live without Alberta in Canada.
And Pat, I agree with you 1,000%. This is one of the reasons, because just so you know, I don't know if you've been following us, if you listened to us before, but I'm from Montreal. I spend half my time in the US. Rob is from the East Coast, and we talk about Alberta independence because we know that it's not covered properly by the mainstream media. We know how important it is, how Carney, in my opinion, will be the last prime minister of Canada as we know it. And especially the way he's going right now, this is just confirming what I've been saying from the get-go. I don't see Canada staying as a whole much longer, especially if he continues doing dumb shit like this and ignoring what Alberta's been saying, because I haven't seen a response to what Daniel Smith has been asking for. The only thing I've seen is Daniel Smith moving forward with the Alberta Next, trying to ask more questions. Over the summer, she's going to run a bunch of town halls trying to figure out what Albertans want. And next year, there's a referendum. This is a fact. She's been talking about it, that 2026, there will be a referendum. And Carney better activate, because at the end of the day, Alberta does not need Canada, but Canada needs Alberta. In the same way as the U.S. don't need Canada, but Canada needs the U.S.
Yeah.
So if we were to lose Alberta and have a shitty deal,
it would just be devastating. We couldn't exist as a country. What you'd probably see would be some sort of a split. Probably Saskatchewan would go, certainly. BC might look around and say, okay, do I want to be part of a fractured Canada with nothing to offer? Or can I go to this new Alberta Saskatchewan union and say, look, we got all this coastline that you guys are going to probably want to use. Why don't we form our own little thing going here? That makes a lot of sense to me. And the rest of Canada is going to be there holding its dick. The East Coast, what do we got after that? We'd probably struggle along, but as you say, Canada, as we know, would be no more.
I agree, man. Completely agree.
Bingus the Wise, again, might be a new face there. Bingus, thank you for the comments.
Love the picture.
Yeah, Bingus. Canada is weak and silly. We wouldn't have put up with Trudeau for so long now and Carney if we weren't. Again, it's hard to argue with. I mean, Bingus the Wise.
Bro, Benga, yep, I agree. I think our conservatives are just liberals in sheep's clothing, so you don't even want to know what I think about our liberals. So I agree, man. I fucking agree. But yet here we are, and we still have some baby boomers that think they did the right thing by electing Carney. Like, I had a video. I wasn't able to play it last week. I should have kept it. There was a great video of proud Canadians putting flags in front of their houses again. Even over the weekend on X, there's somebody that posted that basically you should support Canadian. Like, I'm paraphrasing, but the post was about you should support Canadian businesses. Buy local, buy Canadian, buy this, buy travel to Canada. Just anything else is better than Americans. I'm like, bro, I completely agree with you. Buy local. 100% you should buy local.
You don't need to throw in the US hate added onto it.
No, because there's theories that are saying that if you really want to build a strong economy, internal economy of a country, buy within 50 kilometers of where you are.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. You do relationship. Not only are you building a better economy, but you're building a better relationship with your neighbors, because you get to know the people that are producing goods. You're not buying from whoever the fuck is producing it in China. So I completely support buy local. I will pay more for something knowing that I shook the hand of the owner. We know each other 100%.
Exactly.
But my response to that post, I was like, so basically what you're saying is being Canadian today is not being American.
I don't like that, and
of course
stupid.
not.
It's stupid.
Yes.
It's trendy. It's trendy to hate on America, but it's not, It's easy to do, but it's dumb, like long range. Like it's still within our actual interests to have cultivated as close a relationship as we can. But also, that's not the way I want to go through life, man. Just like being anti everything, like defining myself as not something else. Why can't we go out and define ourselves as ourselves, right? Like that's just, it's just a whole mindset that it's small minded. It reminds me, it's unbecoming of a great nation, is how I feel about it.
This is one of my favorite fucking posts. I'm a big fan of Steven. Like he comments on my stuff on X all the time. I fucking love it. Steven says at this point, I consider Trump the prime minister.
I mean, look, you can't deny, like, he had more influence. He definitely had more influence. That's a fact over our lives than the prime minister does. And again, part of that is just the reality of the situation, the reality of the differences in economies between America and Canada. But again, you got to recognize that if you're the prime minister of Canada, you have to recognize that, and don't try to play the rules of a game that you wish existed. You have to play the rules of a game that does exist. And the rules of the game right now are that we don't have any leverage. The only leverage we have is that we've got America as our big brother that can hurt you if you come after us. And obviously, if we're that only works if we're negotiating with someone else who isn't America. If we're negotiating with America, that benefit goes away. You got to recognize that. And it's just as you were saying a few minutes ago, it's okay to be upset that we don't have any leverage. So the solution is to reinvest in ourselves, come up with a 5 or 10 year plan, build up our resources, develop our resources, build up energy export capacity on both coasts. And then maybe we can, swing our dicks a little bit. Right now we can't.
Kashmir.
Sorry,
I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, Kashmir.
I bet Trump has a small P in real life.
I think he probably does.
I think he probably does. I don't know. I don't want to know, but it wouldn't surprise me.
That's what makes it so dangerous. The most dangerous thing in the world is a guy with a small dick who has enormous power. You know what I mean? Like that's what makes it. Yeah.
Sorry, Rob. You just have a small penis.
I'm like me, small dick and no power.
Goddamn, and no hair. Fuck.
Yeah, it's just the shit end of every single stick.
And he's short.
No, give it up. Yeah, bro. I'm solidly average.
Solidly average. Is that what you do? Is that what you
That's
say?
What I tell the women. Yeah. Hey, it's not small. It's like solidly average. Now I have to make up for my charm and charisma.
Well, that's one of the funniest shit I've heard in a long time. What? I'm solidly average,
man. Solidly average.
Oh, brother, that's fucking funny. Great comment, Kashmir. She's laughing her ass off. Like,
yeah. But I mean,
that was good.
But it's a fair comment too. I think just the way he acts, and it probably wouldn't surprise me if he's got a tiny peen. But that's why you got to be even more careful, because a man with great power with a tiny peen, that is a dangerous man. Wise guy says Ukraine and Russia were once good friends, just as we are with the U.S. The U.S. then went to work to turn the Ukrainians against Russia and fomented the war. I think they want the same thing here. So it's funny you bring up. It's an interesting comment, interesting anecdote. I mentioned on the show a couple months back. So I was there's a gym in my building. I was working out, and there's a Ukrainian guy, and we were just talking. This was a couple months back, and we ended up talking about the Ukraine-Russia war. And I was like, man, like he left to avoid that war, and he was, I think, in the Donbass, right on the border. And I was like, what's that like? Like just kind of. And he was like, I'm telling you, man. He was like, think of the way you guys are with America. He's like, that's how we were with Russia. If it feels unthinkable to you here in Canada to ever be in a war with America, it was just as unthinkable to us. So it can happen, right? Shit can happen. Especially if outside agents, cough, cough, CIA, they start pushing their agenda or whatnot. Is the same thing happening here? I don't know. But I do think the lesson to be learned is you can't take anything for granted. You can't ever think, oh, just because they're our big brother and they've always been there for us, that they won't turn on us. And you have to always be aware that's a possibility. You can't just, especially if Big Brother feels like they've been taken advantage of for decades. And even if, that's not correct, even if they're wrong in that perception, the fact of the matter is perception becomes reality. And what's important is that they perceive they're being taken advantage of.
That's a great comment, though, by Wise Guy. It is true. Huh? You could take that shit for granted.
Yep.
And next thing you know, it's not there. Although I don't see it happening here because Carney's not gonna he's gonna back down. Obviously, he's been doing it time and time again. He's only been in power for like 2 months now, and he's already backing down every single time Trump says no. Carney's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
No.
And like, I know some people will be like, oh, well, he tried to move and then it didn't work out, and now he did what he had to do. I agree. Once he did, for example, once he instituted that tax and Trump backed away, he had to rescind that tax. He had no other option. But you got to think more than 2 steps ahead. You got to be aware that that's going to happen. That was the big mistake, was in even just going forward with that tax at all. I think he thought, because he had some buddy chats with Trump at the G7 in the Oval Office, he could slip this by him. But nah, man, like, Trump's going to be buddy in the room. Like, he's a very interesting personality, and I think there's some flaws in his personality. I think he's got some personality disorders that can be exploited. He loves to be loved, right? There's definitely some narcissistic fuel going on there. And if he's in the room with powerful people, world leaders, he's gonna glad hand you and slap you on the back and be buddy. He basks in that adulation. That does not mean he's gonna just sit by while you sort of make a fool of him either. Because his personality type as well, if he feels like he's being made a fool of, he's gonna come back and hit so fucking hard.
Yeah.
And
he has the power.
Yeah, and that's just it. Like, there's definitely some flaws, some major flaws, I think, in Trump's personality, but we can complain and whine about that all we want. It doesn't change the reality that this is a dangerous man, and when he has that kind of power. And, to a certain extent, you have to kiss the ring. That's the phrase that we've used a lot. There's, and some people are like, oh, I can't do that for Trump because blah, blah, blah. No, man, now you're bringing your own pride and your own ego into it.
Yeah.
The leader of Canada's job is to do what's right, what's best for Canada. And if that means kissing the ring of a more powerful nation, that's what the fuck you do. Until you can get your own power, and then you don't have to do that. Then they kiss your ring, but we're not there yet.
Elbows up, motherfuckers.
Yeah, that's right. Pat Dodds again. Go ahead.
Oh, I'll go for it.
Says Canada is so done. Quebec and Ontario have a surplus like Alberta. With our welfare, Quebec and Ontario loser are still no surplus. I mean, I'm not. I know what you're saying. It's a little hard to read, but I understand. Basically, I'll translate. Yeah, Canada's fucked. Quebec and Ontario are welfare provinces, and Alberta is getting sick of paying the welfare, and that is correct. One of the
really
things,
argue that.
No, you can't. And one of the reasons we started after the election, me and you decided to talk about this issue or cover this issue is, as you said before in the show, mainstream media is not going to do it correctly. And B, we recognize that the grievances are legitimate. And C, I think both me and you who are from the East, we were both surprised when we started to talk to Jason Levine about how serious. And they're not even mad. Honestly, that's scarier. They're just resolved. And I think that's why basically we did it to almost as a wake up to our fellow Eastern Canadians.
I'm meeting him this weekend, actually.
Oh, nice.
He's in Montreal. I'm going to be recording some content with him. And I'm going to meet a bunch of Canadian political commentators. I might sit down with Maxime Bernier. I might meet him in real life. So yeah, I'm sitting down with Jason Leving to speak about that. Like he's touring the country right now, trying to get people's opinion on the
we haven't talked to him in
movement.
What, a month or so? So it'd be nice to see, because I'm sure this feels like a real fast-moving story. I'm sure a lot's happened even in then, so it'd be kind of cool to get it. Yeah. And you should ask him if there's enough new information to warrant coming on the show for a half hour. Give an update.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Robin says, morning, guys. Sitting here listening quietly. Bad mood day, but man, you guys got me laughing with topics. Love you guys. Well, sorry to hear about your bad mood, but we are glad that we can make you laugh, Robin. Thanks for tuning in. You are, of course, one of our OG regulars, and we always love to hear from you. And Robin says, look into yourself, Carney, lols. Wise guy, I think Carney will cave to Smith's demands. If he does, the separatists will go away. I'm on the same take. I mean, I think Nico thinks it's too late. I think it's not too late, but we need to change. We need to do an about face immediately.
I don't necessarily think it's too late for Smith. Smith has said it out loud multiple times that she wants to be somehow stay within Canada or be sovereign, but still in Canada. I think it's too late for a lot of Albertans. Like there's a lot. I'm very curious to see what the referendum next year are going to be.
Fascinating. It's going to be fascinating.
Carney has time right now. And I don't know how fed up they are. I really don't know. But from the people I speak to, they're fucking
very, very fed up. Very.
So,
well, I mean, at
the end of the day, I understand. Yeah, this is the point I'm always going to try. I'm always going to put forward is the fact that I understand. I understand why they're pissed off. I understand that they've been taken advantage of and they're done with it. I fucking understand and I can't argue. I really cannot. I get it.
Well, like it's, like my brother's in Alberta. He's not political at all. And he's kind of the same. He's like, we're just done with it. He's like, that's the mood here. People are just, they want Canada to, it's not even just about money. It's about respect too, right? It's about, and that you can't overlook that either. Like I said, someone could be a billionaire, even if they could afford it. You can't just take advantage of people constantly and not expect them to be upset about that. That's just human nature. To get your wise guy though, I think Carney too will probably cave to the demands. But my thing is, if he knows he's going to, then why not just do it now and actually maybe generate some goodwill?
That's what Carney does. Obviously.
Just draws it out and he didn't get any goodwill by backtracking on this tax here. He would have got some goodwill if he just took it off in the first place. But this is so hopefully he doesn't do the same.
Down to his attitude. It all comes down to his attitude. Read his book. You will understand the type of individual that he is, and he believes that he's better than everybody else, that he knows better. So he's not going to back down unless he's put in a situation where he doesn't have a choice.
Yeah.
And as we've been seeing from the get-go, he is not owning to his mistakes. Carney should have canceled that tax from the get-go. He chose not to. And instead of taking it on the chin, he has his finance minister take it on the chin. But this was Carney 101. That was done under Trudeau. And Carney had a part of it behind the scenes. So
sure.
Again, that's the type of guy. He will not back down. He's just an idiot. Sorry, he's not an idiot. He's just because he's very smart actually, but he is just pretentious, so prideful that he will not overstep his ego in order to.
Yeah, and that's not good. That's not a good look in a leader, especially when you're a leader of the country that really doesn't hold the cards in a lot of negotiations, right? Even if you're negotiating with Europe, we don't really have a whole lot of cards over there. Like, okay, if you're negotiating with fucking Chad or Burundi or something, swing your dick around all you want. But that isn't what's going on here, man. It's certainly not against the Americans. You gotta know who you're dealing with, and I don't think Carney does yet.
No, this one's for you, bro. Talking about dicks.
Solidly average guys. Yes,
By the way, Kashmir, he's single, so maybe he can go for an average one. Sorry, not average. He's
solidly average. Yeah.
But just so you know, Kashmir, he probably has small hands and he's short, so everything looks bigger.
I don't know why you think 5'10" is short, man. 5'10's not fucking short. It is like solidly average. Like I said.
You keep on referring to 5'10", but you've admitted on camera that you're 5'9". The fact that you have to add an inch, and I've been told that 1 inch matters. So I'm just saying.
No.
The fact that you need to add to it kind of tells me that it bothers you. And if it didn't bother you, I wouldn't bring it up again. It's just every time I get a react. I'm like a kid, bro. If I see something bothers someone, I'm just gonna press on it.
I mean, it doesn't bother me.
Oh, here you go.
What do we got
Happy
here?
Monday to you, Sylvie.
Hey, Sylvie. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Bumpy. Carney's got that baby dick energy. Yes, indeed.
Baby dick with no power.
Yeah,
See?
I mean, well,
if Trump has a small dick but a lot of power, at least he has something. Carney has no dick, no power, and he's short and he's prideful. God damn, that is not a good combination.
That's a bad mix. That's a bad mix for sure.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Detective Gaines, the White House just announced back to trade talks because of the job. Okay, well, I mean, that's good. That's good. That's but as we're, I'm not sure if you caught the beginning of the show. Do we really think it's going to be like exactly as it was? I suspect whatever deal they make is probably going to be a little bit less sweet.
Yes.
Because of this little, because it's Trump, right? He's petty. He's vindictive. You try to embarrass him. And also you've shown weakness now. And Trump is a fucking bully by nature. That's his personality. If he senses weakness, he's going to go after. He's going to hit harder. He knows he's got you now. It was just, and it was all entirely predictable. You knew this was going to happen. The mistake was in going through with this tax in the first place. You know, of course, him backtracking, it wasn't good. It's hard to call it a mistake because he had no other option. He had to, but you know, it doesn't. We're in a much worse position now than if we just had not gone through with this at all.
That's funny. Jostradamus is saying Mark Carney's literal agent kicks Nico a check every week for plugging his books.
Yeah. No shit,
you have to understand your enemy, bro. Plain and simple. It's just, it baffles me how people. I didn't pay for it. I'll be the first one to say that I will not give him my money. Hell the fuck no. He's the government's taking enough of my fucking money. They can fuck off. I downloaded it illegally on the line. I have a website that is awesome. You can find whatever book you want. If I read a book online, I'll download it from there and I'll pay for it.
Yeah.
If it's a solid book, I'll pay for it. But Mark Carney can suck my left nut. I'm not giving him any money. So no kickbacks, but you need to know your enemy. You need to understand who the people that are in power. You want to go to I'm one more. That one's for you. That one's just for you. Then we can go to the next.
Bumpy. Anyone under 6 feet is a midget. Yes,
I agree, bro. I completely agree with you. You and I are on the same page on that one, bro.
Yeah. Hold on. So Gaines says Carney is crushing it and playing to Trump exactly how he should be. So are you saying that you're sort of in favor of these of the sort of what Carney's done? I mean, which is a fair and valid take for sure. I don't think I would agree with it. I think it was a mistake. Especially there's some reporting now that at the G7, either Carney told Trump that he wasn't going to go forward with this, or there was an implication that he wasn't. And I mean, if that's the case, you have to know that if you still go through with it, Trump's going to take that personally, and he's going to feel like he's being humiliated. And look, Trump, again, you got to know, as Nico said, you got to know your enemy. Trump's got some personality disorders. He clearly despises being seen as weak. And if you make him look weak, he will lash out 100 times harder. And maybe that's like dumb or not fair, but that's life. That's reality. You had to know it was going to happen. I think it was a mistake to go through with it. He had once that happened and the Americans walked away, he had to rescind it. So that wasn't a mistake per se, but the mistake was in putting himself in that position, because I think now that, yes, trade talks are back on, that's good. I suspect he is not, the deal that they get is going to be less than it would have been without this, just because Trump's petty and he's going to extract some revenge.
Yep, I agree. Let's.
Yeah.
Sorry, detective, you showed up late. We've been talking about this for an hour. Sorry,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah.
but-
We'll move on to the next topic.
yeah, or
guys,
else we'll be on it the whole time.
Yeah, lots of great comments as we go on to the next topic, guys. Remember to smash that like button or like the smash button, whatever tickles your fancy. If you do like the show, if you appreciate what Nico and I are doing, if you want to be part of the help to build this community, you can become a member for the low price of $2.99 per month through your YouTube account. And if it's a little too much for right now, that's cool too. At least like and subscribe to the channel, and that's another way you can support us. Gains, yeah, no worries, brother. I mean, it's a holiday. It's all good.
I wanted to show something funny because I always like to see something that is. I like to see people look stupid, and this when I saw that yesterday, I was laughing my ass off, and I thought you guys would find that funny. And since we're talking about Trump, I found a video of CNN praising Trump.
Sure.
And this, this is something you don't see every day. So I thought this was fucking hilarious. So here we go.
The mission was carried out with stealth and with precision. There were no American casualties. And while Congress is divided after receiving briefings on the extent of the damage, I'm sure that we've derailed Iran's nuclear program, at least temporarily. And there's some valuable deterrent effect for America's adversaries who witnessed last week's exercise. Then, last Tuesday, President Trump left the White House en route to Europe. At the time, there was a question as to whether Israel and Iran would honor a ceasefire. That caused the president to offer the most unfiltered, non-controversial, direct words that I can recall anybody ever saying about the Middle East.
We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
Cut to The Hague, where he arrived for NATO meetings and was able to wrangle an agreement from our allies to more than double their defense spending target from 2% of gross domestic product to 5% by 2035. Also, while at NATO, in a press availability, he did something rare for Trump and I found rewarding. He showed empathy. It came in an exchange with a Ukrainian journalist who said that her husband was a soldier. She asked whether the U.S. would supply her country with Patriot missiles.
Are you living yourself now in Ukraine?
My husband is there.
Wow.
And
I can see you it's amazing.
And me with the kids, I'm in Warsaw actually, because he wanted me to be.
Is your husband a soldier? No?
He's
there now. They do want to have the anti-missile missiles, okay, as they call them, the Patriots. And we're going to see if we can make some available. I wish you a lot of luck. I mean, I can see it's very upsetting to you. So say hello to your husband, okay?
Also in that presser, he was more reflective and respectful than usual of our allies.
They want to protect their country, and they need the United States. And without the United States, it's not going to be the same. And I left here differently. I left here saying that these people really love their countries. It's not a ripoff. And we're here to help them protect their country.
It's, that is... If you change the logo at the bottom from CNN to Fox News, you wouldn't fucking know the difference. Like this is, I think it's the first time I see a video, and we didn't say just one thing. Like he showed about 4 different things. And one thing I got to give Trump though, one thing I got to give him, and he's been doing that for years. He's very good at talking to people in the audience. It's something that other leaders never do, but you saw it a lot during the campaign where that is. I know people that have met him in real life, and supposedly he's actually like that. He is just like he talks to people. He will take the time to talk to the regular folks, like to the commoners, if you will. And like him or not, this is a trait I would love to see more from our leaders. I know that if I was in a position of leadership like that, and people wanted, when I met, I saw Billboard Chris last week or a week and a half ago in NCI. People recognized him, and he took the time to ask their name, just talk to them. Like, I like to see that from people that have influence, and seeing a leader that's capable of doing that. I like it. I wish more people would do that. I wish our leaders would do more of that.
Yeah, I mean, again, like Trump's got a very complex personality, and I think one of them is that, as I was saying a little bit earlier, he is a people pleaser. He likes to be liked. He likes to be, and I'm sure in many contexts, especially if you're just meeting him personally, he probably comes off as very charming, very charismatic. It's that same thing that makes him go overboard, is that if he feels he's being mocked or humiliated or taken advantage of, that same thing turns into an anger response, and then he comes back, and that's very dangerous to be on the other end of, especially when he's got that kind of power. So again, you know, it's a complex personality, and you have to, if honestly, fucking anyone dealing with Trump, world leaders, they should have a staff of like psychologists who can try to build some sort of profile, because I think if you know his personality, you can actually probably get some things from him. You can actually work that to your advantage. But it all starts with that he loves to be liked. He loves to be respected above all else. And even if you think it's like, you know, beneath you or unbecoming to kiss the ring, if you're a world leader and it benefits your country, then that's what the fuck you do. That's what leadership is in that situation.
And I agree with Sylvie. That's why I stopped the video, because he's like
almost going overboard. Yeah,
brother, like
Michael Smirkanish.
You should actually, you should definitely
get his dick out of your mouth, brother.
He was no, it wasn't just dick in. Balls were like, he's fumbling with the balls too. But I agree with Sylvie. That's why I stopped it, because goddamn, like.
So, and I mean, I it's surprising to see on CNN, but again, Michael Smirkanish is an opinion writer. It's not the same as like CNN in their news coverage being like that with him, but it's better than nothing. It's a change. I think and I don't know, you guys let me know if you agree or disagree, but I feel like I detect a little bit of some of the TDS in the mainstream media, at least the American media, coming down just a little bit. Not much, but enough.
I don't think you have a choice. I don't think you have a choice. We were talking about this before the show, right?
Yeah.
I don't think you have a choice, because a lot of the things that he's doing, like the guy or not, he's doing a lot of common sense shit. There's a lot of things I don't agree with him, like that AI crap for mRNA. Whoops. I could not be in bigger disagreement with him. This is bullshit. But at the same time, there's a lot of stuff that he's doing that I'm like, how can you argue it? If you come at it from a common sense perspective, he's doing, like, there's economists right now that are saying that Trump tariffs were brilliant because they're starting to see their economy pick up. So the thing, and the economists are not righties. They're just your mainstream economists that are backing him up now. So love him or hate him, you know, as you were saying last week, you said something, if you know, Mamdani was saying we should tax whiter neighborhoods. Okay, if you change the whiter for blacker neighborhoods, does it sound well? Does it sound good or not? Do you agree with that? No? Well, guess what? It's wrong. But if instead of Trump doing what he's doing right now, if it was Biden that would have done what Trump is doing right now, would you be excited? Would you be in favor of it? If the answer is yes, check yourself, because the leader, yes, maybe you didn't vote for him, maybe you don't like him, but in the same way as I didn't vote for Carney, but if he did, and as you said earlier, if he did something that I agree with, I'll be the first one to say that I agree with him. So at the end of the day, I don't have to like you to say you were right.
I think we agree. I think we both said his statement on Iran was pretty good. So I mean, it happens. Like, it's not like, I mean,
clearly it's fucking worked out.
Yeah. Well, as Smirkanish was saying there in that clip, you know, the thing he said about where Trump, what did he say? They don't know what the fuck they're doing. Some people will be like, oh, it's unbecoming of a president. But you know what? Times have changed. It's okay, I think, for a president to say that. And he used that language to I think he did it to emphasize his point, and I think it did it well. That kind of like just no
that
bullshit.
Was genuine, but that was genuine.
Like, that kind of no, exactly, and that's the difference. You could tell he wasn't thinking about who's going to be mad. He wasn't thinking that.
He wasn't thinking.
We focus grouped this statement 4 times, and it polls well. Like so many politicians, like Poilievre comes to mind. Every time they speak, you can just see all the calculations. And like him or hate him, there's a lot of thirst, a lot of hunger for that kind of politician who just says what they mean. Even if you don't necessarily agree with the thing he says, I think he gains a lot of credibility and just respect for just by saying that, by being that person. Like, you know, I'm a lefty, I'm a liberal. You could say, ideologically inclined to oppose Trump. And I think he's got some major flaws in his personality. He's also got some things in his personality that I think are a benefit to him as a president. But that right there, of all the things that I could sing his praises about, that's the one that I think is at the top of the list. Just that ability to just say what the fuck you think. That's what people are thirsting for from their leaders. If we don't agree with you, okay, that's fine. But like, we will respect that you just said it, that you just said something that you felt authentic, that felt genuine. And in that case, I actually happen to agree with the thing that he said. But even if I didn't, I would at least respect a leader who just says what they feel.
I agree, man.
Take a couple of these comments.
Take a few comments and then we'll move forward.
Yep. Bumpy says McConnell is probably the best guy on CNN. That's not saying much. I mean, he seems to be pretty middle of the road.
Actually, what's the other guy? Scott Jennings.
Actually, someone mentioned here.
I like Scott Jennings.
I think
that dude many rips into the panels that he's on. But he is clearly not a Democrat. He's a Republican.
Yes,
he plays his role, right?
Yeah, Bumpy says I enjoy Scott Jennings, but he's not expected to be fair. Yeah, he's there as the right wing guy. I think Bumpy is saying as it's McConnell as kind of trying to be the quote unquote neutral arbiter. I think he does that job pretty well. Okay, Sylvia says that CNN dude is almost going overboard.
He wasn't almost. That's why I stopped it. I
he was
more like, okay, bro, we get it.
There's a Gain says CNN has new owners recently. And I just want to quickly say this is there's a side conversation going on. I don't know if you're saying it, but it's talking about the milk dairy quota. We're not gonna dig into it, but there was something that Gaines had said. Right here, he says, I know I could sell milk to if it weren't for quotas, it would open the industry up. We'll definitely chat with that when we have some time, either on this show or another show. But I'd like to ask about the Gains. I didn't know you were a milk farmer. I'd be curious to see how that affects you. What we're trying this new stay on topic thing, so we won't go down that road hole right yet. But I definitely want to jump into that when we do have some time. Bumpy says, look at Trump's relationship with Michael Jackson. Even after everything, Trump only ever said good things about the man. Trump has incredible loyalty. Yeah, I think one of the archetypes you can best think of to think about Trump is mafia don, mafia leader. And some people might say that as an insult. I don't mean it as that. If you think of Don Corleone from The Godfather, right? That's a respectable man, in my opinion. I think if you had most leaders with that kind of character, I think you'd be in a pretty good spot. But for those types, they do value loyalty is highly valued, and I think that's why Trump also shows that sort of loyalty. But you're right. If people show him loyalty, he will show them back. I know some people will say, oh, mafia leader, oh, so he kills people. Well, if you're a leader of a country, sometimes that means making those sorts of decisions. You can't be afraid of that. Obama killed a lot of people, just like Obama deported a lot of people too. And, he just, frankly, if it might be admirable to say someone who refuses to kill someone, but I don't want that person as President of the United States or Prime Minister of Canada as a global leader. I want them to take that responsibility very seriously, and I want them to give real thought anytime they make that kind of decision. But sometimes that decision has to be made if you want to be a leader with that kind of power.
I asked Sylvie because Sylvie said because they're talking about how Pierre Poilievre has TDS syndrome, which he definitely does. Clown World, Sylvie is saying that did you guys see Pierre Poilievre going on about immigration over the weekend? Oh my God, that guy. No, so I asked her to say if you have a link for it, send it to me on X, and I'll share it here.
I'd like to take that.
Yeah, but hold on. Just because she brought him up, I just found that because clearly I've been looking at his Instagram, not his Instagram, his X, his social media. So he's posting a bit more, not much, but he made, this is a video I've never seen of him before. Like, you know, like I record those videos all the time, like sitting in my car saying something, but I just want to see, let's play like a minute of it, see if it sounds genuine or not. Because that's our biggest, at least that's my biggest gripe with him, is that he's not authentic at all.
Genuine,
so just for sake of argument, just to see if I can say that he actually looked good on the video.
All right,
let's just see.
Yep.
On the quiet plains of East Central Alberta, where you might expect to find trucks outnumber people, lies one of the most important towns in the Canadian economy, with $90
like
of
professional quality B-roll. He's got a team of 7 people putting this together.
Hardisty is the kind of place you might not even notice as you drove by, not realizing
it's flop.
You passed one of the most powerful energy
trying to make it sound something.
It helps the nation, just more political, powers the lives of millions of people every single day.
Is that likable from you?
Million barrels of oil flow out of the tank farm in this tiny town.
I think,
as I said, it's 90 billion in economic.
Had other moments where he was genuine and authentic. If he did this sort of political fluff on the side, I'd be like, okay, whatever. That's just what politicians do sometimes. But this is all he ever does. This is all he's got. So yeah, so that ain't it, Pierre. We got a couple more on this. Got a couple more comments on this topic, and then we'll see. At least we're getting better though. We go down a short rabbit hole and then we come back, and then we'll move on to the next one. Bumpy says, I disagree. I think he's referring to when I was saying, is there a titch less of TDS? The Democrats aren't curing their TDS, but if there's a branch that had escaped their cognitive dissonance and are attempting properly discourse, or there is a branch that has escaped their cognitive dissonance and are attempting proper discourse. Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like we're saying the same things. Like, I mean, mostly I was talking about media, not necessarily the Democrats, but when I say you see a little titch less of TDS, that's probably what you're seeing when you say there is a branch, a small branch of the Democrats that has escaped that dissonance and is attempting proper discourse after a decade of disgrace. Yeah, I mean, you know, as we said, Nico, in some ways they don't have a choice. Like, you just can't keep pretending this guy is Adolf Hitler when he's clearly not. And there's a lot of things to disagree or dislike about him, to criticize him for. Just stick to the real ones, right? Stick to things that are actual, like he's actually doing. You don't need to turn him into this villain, this Bond villain, because all that does is give him power, right? That gives him power.
Let me just show. We'll move ahead. I just want to show. Sylvie did tag me in it, so let me bring it up. Let me scroll in. There you go. So Pierre Poilievre said on June 28th, so on Saturday, we need massive and immediate reduction in incoming international students. We do not have housing, jobs, or healthcare. Yet the Liberals continue with another 500,000 students this year. Immigration level must be cut to bring down population while we focus on job, homes, and healthcare for Canadians. Where the fuck was that 2 months ago?
Yeah,
you
I was
fucking
just thinking that.
spineless. You're so spineless.
Is it too little, too late?
Spineless. It's not too little, too late. Anything. It's way too fucking late. Like, this is 2-3 months too late. This is a year too late. This is 2 years too late. But that's what he does. That's what drives me absolutely fucking nuts. I wish that guy would have the balls to fucking call me so that I could talk to him about these type of stuff. Take it on the chin, bitch. Because I'm sorry, Pierre, but you're weak. This is weak fucking potato. This is weak sauce. You should apologize. You deserve. I didn't vote for you, so you don't owe me an apology. I saw right through you from the get-go. But for all the conservatives out there that voted for you, you owe them an apology. And this is the next post you should be writing. Sorry, conservative of Canada, I let you down. I should have been speaking about this for fucking years already, but you did not. Now you're talking about it because on October 18th, not October, September, no, August 18th, you're going to be running for get elected in Alberta. And you know that Albertans cares about this shit. That is the only reason why you're talking about it. Because you lost your seat and now you need a seat again in order to be the leader of the Conservative Party. But you owe all the conservatives out there a massive fucking apology because you should have been talking about this shit for months now, even years. Well, you didn't have the balls to say so. Too little, too late.
Well, and also, you know, he's got he puts it out in a
Thanks,
tweet.
Sylvie, for fucking pissing me off. Thanks a lot. But he has time to record a little video.
Well, that's what I mean.
Car.
That should be the video that you record in your car, right? Because
Yes.
then people could put it on their shows and talk about it, and people would make reels, and it would spread far and wide. Just putting in a tweet's not going to do anything.
No. Thanks a lot, Sylvie. I really needed to be fucking pissed off at Pierre Poilievre again. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that. That's sarcasm, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, so we on to move to the next one.
I was pissed, Nico. Yeah, Sylvie's like, yeah, I was pissed. Yeah. I think you saw my reaction too. Yeah, I wanted to show something. I wanted to show this. Hold on, before we do. Thanks, Moonglow, for just the tip. Pierre, like him, but he needs to dump the TDS. What do you like about him? Out of curiosity, what do you like about him as a conservative? I would imagine that's why you like him. What do you like about Pierre Poilievre? I'd be very, very curious to know.
I can, I mean, obviously I'll let Moonglow speak for himself, but I think there is, you know, for some people, it's sort of like the kind of inoffensive sort of, you know, not going to rock the boat, steady as she goes kind of guy. And there's moments when that's probably who you want as a leader. I feel like this isn't, I don't think this is it. I think this is where you want someone who just kind of has balls, right? You know, will just say what they mean and say how they feel. Be genuine, be authentic. Don't be afraid to offend some people. So I think that, you know, obviously everyone has their own reason for why they like someone. Wise guy here says Pierre stayed away from stopping immigration and vaccine justice and truth, both of which might have won the election. I think, I think certainly being more vocal on immigration was a huge mistake, or not being as vocal on immigration was a huge mistake. Vaccine justice. Yeah, I probably agree with that, because I think a lot of the people who voted PPC, that probably might have got them to stay. So I see what you're saying, where I think it could have helped him electorally. But the fact of the matter is, like, he just needs to stop trying to triangulate every single position. Just have your own opinion on something. If you're going to be the leader of a conservative, you know, ostensibly they're going to be conservative opinions, and then just say them a lot, repeat them a lot, have conviction, be genuine, be authentic. People don't need to agree with every single thing that you say if they believe that you're authentic and genuine.
You know what bothers me the most about these type of posts like he just did? It's not only is it weak, but there's no numbers to it. All he said is 500,000. And even I can tell you, as somebody that does marketing for a living, 500,000 does not work. You need to write the numbers. You need to write 500.5000. You need to see it. It's visual. It bothers me that simple little things like that. He doesn't even fucking understand super simple principles that would take his tweet to another level. But do you know what has become some of my most popular tweets my most popular post that I do on Instagram now is actually when I do research and I write it down with numbers and facts. And it blows my mind that a guy like him, with all the resources that he has, doesn't even do these type of posts. Like, did you notice there's no facts in what he's talking about? It's really just like oh shit, I should probably say something about this because I don't think people are too happy about the fact that there's a lot of migration. So I should probably talk back. Or somebody on his team is like, hey, you're gonna run for a spot in Alberta. What did last week Daniel Smith say? That it was a problem, that they're looking at stopping social services, provincial social services for certain immigrants. So because it's topical now and he probably has to say something, he said something. But again, nothing fucking strong about this.
No.
It was weak.
People feel strongly about this issue. And if you're a politician and you want to be effective, you need to know that when people feel strongly about an issue, you need to match that energy. They need to see in you, in your words, in your body language, that you feel the same way, that you understand that it's a serious issue and it's not just, just a throwaway tweet here on the weekend. So yeah, I mean, there's I wonder if Moonglow it says, yes, Pierre's all we got. We'll never have a Trump. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before.
If we keep on allowing guys like Pierre Poilievre to be the leader of a conservative party, we will never have a Trump because there will never be the space for him to step in. But we do. I'm not saying we need a Trump. We just need somebody that has balls, that is authentic, that actually cares. See the video we were talking about earlier. Trump actually said fuck on camera, not because he planned it and his team said he should say it. He's just fucking fed up and he said it. Pierre Poilievre would never have the balls to say something like that, which, like I've said in the past, it blows my mind right now that even especially in the Conservative Party, we haven't seen somebody flip a fucking table or start throwing his shit around in the House of Commons. Sure, it will make you, sure, they will mute you. Who the fuck cares? If I was in the House of Commons and I would hear liberals talk the way they do, I would lose my fucking shit. You want to arrest me? You want to escort me? No problem. That shit is going to go viral, and I'm going to use that in order to tell Canadians that I'm your guy. I'm fucking pissed off just like the way you are, because it's enough. 10 fucking years of this shit and we're just getting worse and worse and worse. But there's a big responsibility that falls on the fucking Conservative Party. They have lost 4 elections in a row. 4 elections in a row. Why? Because they're weak as shit. And I'm tired of this fucking weak-ass fucking conservatives. We have enough of the NDP, the Greens, and the Liberals. We have plenty of fucking leftists in Canada. Can we have somebody that's somewhere in the middle? Somebody that has common fucking sense? Is it too much to ask? Somebody that has balls to share real numbers like I do every fucking day. Every day I do research and I talk about facts. Numbers. Fucking numbers, and day after day my fucking shit goes viral. Why is he not doing that if he cares? Why?
Well, I mean,
those fucking numbers.
I mean, and certainly flipping tables literally would, as you say, would get people's attention, and it would, but you don't even have to do that. Like David Bexty or whatever gave a speech.
No, but if it was genuine, all I'm saying is genuine.
Just
me,
you can show passion.
Genuine.
Yeah, show passion. And I don't see that from Poilievre. I don't see that. You can say, oh, it's not his fault if he's not that kind of guy. Okay, but like, I feel like the moment calls for that kind of energy, that kind of a dynamic leader. I don't think you necessarily have to flip tables, but you have to be genuine and you have to speak with passion. That is one thing that, speaking with passion, the left does seem to have. I don't think they're genuine, but like, Mamdani, he's a good speaker. He speaks, it sounds like he's passionate about his cause, and that's why it works for him. And now I'm not even talking about ideological points. I'm talking about just human nature. What people look for, what makes people look at someone and say, that's my guy, that's a leader. It's several things. It's an it factor. It's an X factor. Hard to describe, but you know it when you see it. I don't think Pierre has it. I think in calmer times, he'd be a fine leader. I think he's okay. Like, I think he would be good for keeping the lights on. But when you need someone to really push back against something, you know, some really serious things going on, I don't think he's the guy for the moment.
Like, see, this is a post. This is the type of post I make every day. How complicated would it have been for him to just type this? In 2023, Canada welcomed more than 2 million non-permanent and new permanent residents. 1 million international students, 766,000 temporary foreign workers, 471,000 new permanent residents, and 146,000 asylum seekers. Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation estimates that Canada needs 5.8 million new homes by 2030. That's more than 1 million homes a year for the next 5 years. Does Canada have a housing crisis, or do we have an immigration problem? Bang. Right there. That's the type of post he should be posting every single fucking day. But that means he needs to do research. That means he needs to have the balls to speak numbers, which he never does. It drives me nuts. Facts. Facts are not that hard to find. Just do fucking research. Well, it blows my mind. Those are facts. Those are numbers provided by the federal government. I just took their numbers and put it in a post.
I suspect he probably knows the numbers. I think it's more the other thing you said, the balls.
Yeah, he doesn't have the balls to. You know what? I want to give him credit that maybe he doesn't know the numbers. He's too fucking lazy to learn them. But if he does know, it's even worse if you know the numbers and you don't have the balls to say so. Because tell me that his little post had impact. It doesn't have any impact. I would have never stopped on it if I was scrolling. Never would have stopped on it because, again, soft as baby poop. You know what we need in Canada? This is what we need in Canada. I told you about this this morning, and it kind of blew my mind, actually, because I thought Denmark was a fucking weak-ass country, but it seems like I might have been mistaken. But this is my opinion. This, in my opinion, is something that we need to talk about. This, I posted about this over the weekend. It went viral. And you know what? I fucking love it. And I wish we had the balls to say something like that in Canada. But the Danish prime minister seeks to extend the religious full-face veil ban to educational institutions. For the people that didn't know this, I didn't know this, that since 2018, Denmark has had a burqa ban. So 7 years. Yeah. But in the past couple of weeks, it started trending again because the PM is like, it's not enough. And before I tell you what she wants, this article was very cool in explaining that, hold on, she's not a conservative. Just so you know, that woman is not a conservative. She's a fucking socialist feminist. Hold on, let me just
frankly, this should be a feminist issue. This should be a feminist issue. It should be the left who are leading the cause against this.
Listen to this. However, Frederiksen, who is also the leader of the country's Socialist Democrat Party, wants to change this, stating that limiting the ban in this way has been a mistake. There are gaps in the legislation
Okay, go ahead.
Hold on. There are gaps in the legislation that allow Muslim social control and oppression of women at educational institution in Denmark, because that's what she wants. So basically, you have a fucking socialist Democrat that's obviously a feminist that is finally talking some fucking sense, saying this needs to stop because it's oppressing women.
It's against our values. Period.
But can you
against
imagine?
Our values.
Our conservatives don't even have the balls to talk about this, and you have a social democrat in fucking Denmark that has the balls to say this. And you know what she wants? This is what she wants. On Thursday, she was seeking to extend the 2018 niqab ban to educational institution and remove
they cut out a carve out for when you were in school, you could have it. And she's saying she wants to close.
Let me read this. Just let me read it because there's more to it. But she's saying that on Thursday, she seeks to extend the 2018 niqab ban to educational institution and remove prayer rooms, citing concern about social control and oppression.
I mean, this is literally what we talk about. What we mean when we say, you know, if people are coming to the West, they need to share Western values. It is not a Western value to cover women from head to toe. And that is not their decision in the vast majority of the cases. It is the man's decision in their life, whether it's their father or their husband. That's not Western values. And it's entirely appropriate to say, no, we don't do this. If you want to cover your women, you can stay in whatever country you come from and do that there. We don't cover our women here.
And just to prove a point, so this was the PM of Denmark. Over the weekend, I just posted this video this morning.
Yep.
But over the weekend, there was a mini, because you know in Montreal when it's nice, they close all main streets. Like there's a bunch of main streets you can just walk down, right? Mm-hmm. So this is right downtown, one of the nicest area of Montreal. Just to go against what we just showed. So in Denmark, they're saying that we need to ban the burqa. This is a fucking Montreal over the weekend. I posted without knowing that I would talk about the burqa, so it's a happy fucking coincidence. But Here is fucking Montreal. Tell me, do you remember Carney said Muslim values are Canadian values? Check this out. Tell me if that looks like Canada to you.
What are they protesting? Just whatever. Yeah.
Escorted by the police, of course.
That's not Canadian. That's not Western values, man. To cover a woman from head to toe.
Dan fucking Mark, a social democrat, is telling us that we need to do more. We need to enforce that ban in school as well. Remove prayer rooms. In Canada, we have them walking everywhere, and our prime minister is saying Muslim values are Canadian values. Hey, get the fuck out.
They aren't. Yeah, they are not. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about, but like any truthful assessment of the situation will tell you that they are not one and the same. So, you know, it's not our values to have women covered their entire body except for their eyes. In many cases, there's like a screen covering because even their eyes are too alluring, right? Like the theory is, well, men can't control themselves if they see a woman who's dressed normally. So like, no, maybe in your shithole country, that's the case. But like, we do not treat our women like that. That's not one of our values. And it should be the left who is leading the charge on this. And instead, the left continues to be schizophrenic and champion these causes of people who actually hate each other. You know, they'll demand that you allow open borders, unchecked immigration to people who then come in here and want to throw gay people off buildings and oppress women and treat them like property. And it's just, you know, the left has gone schizophrenic, and all the left is about now is self-hate. It's about hating the West, hating ourselves, and everything related to it. That's why they hate Christianity, but they love Islam. They love every religion except for Christianity. And I'm an atheist. I'm not a Christian, but that's wrong. It offends my sense of justice and fairness.
You're just feeding me. Thank you. Hold on. Let me piss you off even more, because thank you for the pass. You just allowed me to put this one. So keep that in mind. Yep. Denmark is saying no to burqa, no more burqas in school.
Yep.
Carney is saying that Muslim values are Canadian values, and we see women in burqa walking down the street protesting something that we don't understand what it is in Montreal. Yet, Pride Toronto has naked dudes again.
What does that have to do with equal rights, man? What does that have to do with any of it? It's just perverts at this point. It's just fucking degenerates and perverts who want to play their fetish out in public.
Ding, 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 ding. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. And
it's so ridiculous.
This is the left. This is the left for you, right? Women should be allowed to wear nothing, but our dudes should be allowed to wear nothing.
Nothing. Yeah, literally. Yeah, that's a good point. And it's so ridiculous. Like there's no coherence to any of left-wing ideology these days, other than self-hate. It just oppose anything to do with the West. And that's it. I'm followed by a ton on X of what you might call the normal gays. And they are sick of this shit. They most of them will say they want nothing to do with Pride anymore because they'll be the first to tell you it's just a bunch of fetishes and creeps who are out there, accessing their or displaying their fetish in public. And, these are the same guys that were flashing kids in the park 10 years ago and running from the cops. And now they get to do it with police protection down the main streets of our cities.
While having the Toronto Pride Parade subsidized by taxpayers' money because Olivia Child, the mayor of Toronto, has replaced the money they lost from their private sponsorship, aka Home Depot and other private companies that will not support this shit anymore.
And they're canceling. They're canceling Canada Day celebrations and fireworks all over the country, but there's plenty of money for this, and it makes you wonder where the fuck is our priorities? Like what is going on here, right?
You know exactly where our priorities are. They're right there.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's with the creeps and the fetishists and the guys who want to put women in full body burqas and basically oppress them and keep them as property.
You know what I like the best, and that's the irony that nobody seems to talk about, is that Carney said that Muslim values are Canadian values. Do you think Muslims are okay with a bunch of naked dudes? Don't forget the fact that they're gay. Forget the fact that they're gay, that they might be trans. Do you think, have you seen a lot of Muslim in Muslim countries just walking around naked?
Yeah. I suspect most Muslims would actually be as offended as we are by that statement, that Muslim values, because they look at that and they say that's Canadian values. That's not our values. We don't want any part of that.
But that's the irony of it all, and it's hard for me to believe that there's not an agenda to have people like you and I just lose their fucking shit. Because wherever I look, I'm like, no. What about taking a bit of pride is a sin, but I think a bit of pride is okay, as in, self-respect. Like, I will honor my family, I'll honor the people that I love by not acting like a fucking moron in day-to-day life, by not exposing myself to children. Like, how much common sense do you fucking need in order to know that this is not okay? Like, it doesn't need that like, the fuck. I don't want to see a bunch of naked dudes walking down the street. Like, I really don't. Like, I don't want to see a bunch of naked women walking down the street either. There are things that are meant for behind, like, you want porn, bruh? There's all the porn in the world. Just check your phone, check whatever. But really, how is this about, not only are we celebrating sexual preferences, which, fuck off, I really don't care about what you do behind closed doors. I don't give a fuck. Why are we allowing praising sexual preferences and being naked in front of children? That's what blows my mind. How is that okay?
It shouldn't be. It's not necessary. Like, any diverse society has to keep its public spaces as neutral as possible. You can't be doing things to like celebrate one identity group, especially if you're not allowing another identity group to do the same thing. And you have to keep civil society civil. You have to keep, you can't allow just fucking perverts and creeps just to like run around fucking naked at an event that's open to kids and shit. Like, the left has effectively turned any sort of safeguarding for children into like a right-wing thing, and that's bullshit. It doesn't have to be like that. You can be a liberal and still have just basic decency and not be a fucking degenerate. But the left is making it hard these days.
Bro, it blows my fucking mind. And you know what? Joe and I will agree on this one, that is the agenda. That's the agenda, and I agree. Sylvie, same thing. Part of the agenda is to make all civil societies become degenerate. And, you know, believe in conspiracy theories or not, can you really argue that there's not something behind the scene that's done on purpose? Because I cannot understand what I know that Mark Carney is not an idiot. Like, unfortunately for us, he's not stupid. So I know that there's something going on, and I know that on one breath he can't back Muslim values and call them Canadian values, and on the other breath say, "Oh, we're going to give more money to LGBTQ to make sure that their pride events are secured properly." They do not they don't go together at all.
Incoherent, right? It's incoherent. And
no, it's not. It's done on purpose. They're trying to piss us off in order. Like Lenny Boy, I think I showed that video, was talking about something similar. Don't fall for the plan, because that's what they're doing. They're doing it on purpose so that we're so irritated by all of this that we just go fucking ballistic in the streets. And it's hard for me to believe that this is not what's going on, because those people are not stupid. They're just fucking with us to see how much are we going to take before we fucking crack. And even I, bro, it's hard, man. I see this shit and I'm like, this is not Canadian. This has nothing to do with Canada. A bunch of women walking around with tiny little cracks. We have a bunch of dudes blocking intersection to praise Allah. And now we have a bunch of fucking naked perverts walking around Toronto.
They're all being championed by the far left. By the woke
Canada
left.
Celebration in Montreal, no fireworks in Toronto, but naked dudes. Woo!
All the money in the world for that, but no money for. Yeah, it's just, oh man, I don't like. I know when people say things like agenda. Yeah. I mean, maybe. I honestly, I just think it's weakness. I think it's fucking weak people who have there is an agenda for sure. But I think it's like, I don't know that our leaders necessarily want to infuriate people. I think they're just so fucking weak that, like, the people who run pride parades, they have an agenda and they're afraid to say no to them. People like people who immigration advocacy groups who are trying to bring in Muslims by the fucking millions, they have an agenda. And our leaders are fucking paralyzed and weak and terrified to say anything for fear of being called racist or homophobic. And I mean, that's how I see it. Could they also be in on the agenda? Yeah, sure, possibly. I don't know. And at the end of the day, that doesn't even matter. I think what really matters is not why they're doing it, it's that they're doing it. And that's, I mean, on that we can all agree. And that's what has to stop. It is just all of this nonsense. We can figure out the why later, but as far as right now, we should, like, yeah, I don't know what the solution is. It's demoralizing to see all this shit go on, to see what's happening in your own country, in your own society, and feel like nobody is fucking speaking up against it. And the fact of the matter is I genuinely believe most people don't like it, but they are afraid to say anything, and that's what's most frustrating about it.
You know, man, that is why I do what I do. This is why I talk about it every day. This is why, if you check my social, I have no problems addressing all of this. And it's unfortunate because there's a lot of conservative content creators that I don't necessarily agree with a lot, but at least they talk about some real stuff, but they don't have the balls to talk about this shit, not the way I do every day. And I don't understand why. I really don't understand why, because I can understand as a liberal, as a woke liberal, or even as a guy like you, common sense liberal, where you're trying to be more careful because you know that your following is more liberal, so you have more of a line to walk. But I've never walked that line. Ever since I started creating content, I've never walked that line. I never will walk that line. I don't give a fuck if it hurts your feelings. I don't care. I'm always going to speak the truth. But I wish there was more conservatives that would have the balls to speak the way I do, because this is a no-brainer, bro. Having a bunch of fucking perverts walking around naked in front of children, having women walking around with literally only their eyes showing. We're in fucking Canada. This is a hell the fuck no. This is not the country I grew up in, and this is not the country I want to leave for my son. This is fucking bullshit.
Yep.
People need to be able to speak about it. And I'm not saying we shouldn't go out there and destroy our neighborhoods, but maybe it's time for more conservative party or more conservative people to actually start protesting this stuff. Just rally. Maybe that's what we need to do. Maybe we need to start organizing rallies in like Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, BC, somewhere in BC, like probably Vancouver, and just say, guys, okay, this is done. We're done. We're just going to walk around exactly like they do. We're going to do it peacefully. We're just going to do it. A bunch of people that are more conservative in nature should show up. I think maybe that's what you and I should start working on. How do we organize protests in every single city and just stop with this nonsense? Just stop with this nonsense, because this is not Canadian. I don't give a fuck that our prime minister is telling us that it is.
That's not Canadian.
It is not, and this needs to stop.
That's right.
Okay, I'm done. I'm done.
All right, we'll take a few comments and then we'll end it on the 2 hours. I think that's the show's definitely a lot smoother with this new structure. We're not going down these endless rabbit holes.
Trying not to.
Try not to. We'll still go down one or two. All right. So Joe Stradama says that's because the left parties in Denmark are not owned by right-wing money like they are in US, UK, Canada. So he's talking about, when we played the clip on them banning or talked about them banning the burqa, and you were asking, why are they doing this in Denmark and not Canada? I mean, Joe, I don't know about right-wing money, but I think the left parties are definitely owned by corporate money. Honestly, I agree kind of with you. I tend to equate the corporate political activism as right-wing, but I don't know. Nico made a good point last week, arguing that corporate money isn't really right-wing anymore. It's kind of left-wing. And ideologically speaking, it's hard to argue against that. I think what it really is, they don't have a position one way or the other. They're going to go wherever they think it's going to make their money. But over the last 10, 15 years, it's pretty undeniable that corporate America or the corporate world has been much more aligned with left-wing ideology than right-wing ideology.
100%.
Joe says the left parties have been taken over by inheritance class money, and their only purpose is to divide and destabilize any organized resistance to our slide into authoritarian fascism. It explains much. I don't know. Joe strikes me as a good example of horseshoe theory there. He's obviously, left, quite left. But a lot of the things he says, I think would also resonate with people on the right or even the far right. And it's hard to disagree with what he says here. It does seem like, and we could even quibble about if they're doing this intentionally or if not, but at the end of the day, none of it matters. And sure, and also none of that even matters. At the end of the day, the purpose of a system is not what it claims to do; it's what it actually does. And so when we look at it like that, it doesn't really matter if they're doing it intentionally or not. They're doing it. That's the fucking problem. And it is, even if you want to make the argument that it isn't intentional, it's probably getting harder and harder to make that argument. But the more important thing is to push back against it and to fight against it. And hopefully to the extent that this show has any influence in the real world, it's to facilitate that pushback or help. Sylvie says there really is an agenda, Rob. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm just inclined to not, like I said, I'm not overly conspiratorial minded, but I'm also a realist, right? I have eyes. I see what's going on in the world. I don't want to believe that our leaders are actually doing things intentionally to harm us, but I don't know how you can say that anymore. It's harder and harder to believe that.
I don't know after the past 5 years how you can still say that, looking at all the results that are coming from what they coerced millions or not billions of people around the world to take. Those papers are there, man. Even RFK is saying that guys like Fauci is responsible for millions of unalived people. So at the end of the day, man, I know it's a hard pill to swallow. I have that conversation with people all the time offline. But at the same time, man, I don't understand how people can still say this when the Bilderbergs had their annual meeting just a few weeks ago. Our finance minister was there, so was Chrystia Freeland. And I don't know if you know who the Bilderbergs are, but nope. They're some of the most powerful people on the planet that are non-governmental entities, which you'll see business owners, some of the richest people go there. There are government people from government that goes as well. But Chrystia Freeland and our finance minister was there. And one of the things that was on the agenda was mass immigration and depopulation. So this is not a conspiracy theory. It's right on their website. I posted about it. Most people don't know who they are. But all to say that this has been going on for years. And I don't understand what it's going to take for guys like you to wake up and just say, you know, there's something going on and they don't like us. They really don't like us. It's just that, like Sylvie says, I don't know what the solution is because she believes that protesting will accomplish nothing. Not anymore. I don't agree. I don't agree with that. There's a way to make it happen in a way that would work. We need to rethink what that is. But at the end of the day, man, there's definitely something going on. And it's naive for people to believe that it's not orchestrated because we tend to think that people are, just like Arnie said here, saying that Trump, because of his total and mind-boggling stupidity or stupidness, don't think that the people that are in power, like or hate Trump, like or hate Carney, they're not stupid. Thinking that they're stupid is a problem. You're underestimating the people you don't like just because you don't like them. That doesn't make them stupid. That makes you extremely naive to believe that they're stupid because they're not. It pisses me off to say that Mark Carney's brilliant, but he fucking is. I'd much rather he be stupid, but he's not. He really isn't. So don't underestimate. But all I'm saying, I'll leave it at that because that's one of my rabbit holes that I can go in. We're bang on the 2-hour note. So
yeah. We'll put a pin in there. But guys, excellent discussion. Lots of comments, lots of engagement. Appreciate you guys stopping by. For of course any new faces and our regulars, you could have been anywhere in the world today and you chose to be here with us, and we will always appreciate that. If you like what you see here, if you think there's a space for this kind of independent media, remember to like and subscribe to the channel. And if you really want to support us, the best way you can do that is by becoming a member, which you can do so through your YouTube account. Other than that, we're a couple minutes overboard, but we're getting better, getting a little more structure. Guys, we'll catch you tomorrow. Be safe, have fun, and we'll see you on Canada Day 2025.